All right, hey, this is Mr. Fowler. I'm going to be giving you some background information on the 13 colonies. This is to go with the notes that you are to put on. Let's see if I can find it here on your notebook on page. Where is it? It's this one right here, page 44. So these are the intro lecture notes that I'm about to walk you through right now. We're going to be talking about the 13 colonies for the next week or so. You're going to be doing your presentations on your colonies, and we're going to be voting on which colony you would have liked to have lived in. But here's some background information on what it is we're talking about. So the way that this is organized, this map here, is into three distinct regions. We're going to call this region up here the Northeast. We're going to call this region here the Middle, and this down here the South. Now, traditionally, right, I have you with when things are in red, I want you to write it down. There's going to be a lot that goes by here, so please feel free to pause the video whenever you need to write stuff down. If you need to go onto more than one page, feel free to do so. Just make sure you maintain the page numbers as you're going forward. All right, so we're talking about similarities and differences between the regions, and we're going to talk about them in these four areas here: geography, economics, religious practices, and types of government. Okay. Let's start with the New England. If any of you have ever been to New England in around this time of year in the fall or the winter, you know that it is the coolest climate. You can guess because of the weather that the soil fertility is pretty bad, meaning that it is hard to grow things. Short growing season. The winters are long, the summers are short, and it's not real conducive to growing a whole lot of crops. Look at that! I didn't know it did that. uh, so how does one adapt to this? Well, of course, if you can't farm because it's so darn cold, you're not going to farm as much. So less farming and more jobs related to the ocean. If you remember the geography of what it is we're talking about here, we're talking about a group of people that lived right here on the ocean: Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. Right, these are all places that are right on the ocean. So of course you're going to have an economy that is a shipbuilding economy. Okay, so Atlantic coastline's got plenty of harbors and ports, and the forests of New England provide plenty of lumber actually to help build those ships. Okay, the trees give you the ships, and the ships can help you sail out and get more stuff, and the cycle repeats itself. What about the middle? The middle colonies are a little bit warmer, so we're going a little bit further south. The middle colonies make up the now states of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware. That's the part of the country we're talking about. So the middle colonies have warmer winters, a little bit warmer summers. The thing that's nice about the middle colonies are what are called the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains run right here through the middle right through the middle of the middle colonies. And the nice thing about a valley is when it rains a lot in that valley, right, the water trickles down and seeps down to the bottom of that valley. You can sort of think visually what I'm talking about here, right. So follow the cursor here. You've got the rain that falls up here, and it's going to fall because of gravity right into a valley. And what's at the base of the valley? Very fertile soil. So you can grow stuff. You can grow a lot of stuff here at the base of the valley. And so they all do this. The middle colonies had a lot of stuff to grow. Because of that, you could get a lot of farm life there. You could farm cattle, pigs, sheep, wheat. You could also grow, if you've driven through the states of New York or Jersey or Pennsylvania, very, very green. Got a lot of lumber, timber. You got fish in the ocean. And furs and iron was another big export business for the middle colonies at this time. Never forget that the founding Europeans in this country, actually founding is not the correct term because there were people here, remember, but the first European contact that came to this country was very interested in the economics here. The lands in North America were very, 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 very resource heavy. So people figured out pretty early on that you can make a lot of money by coming here and farming and doing stuff like that. Oops, why that got in here. This is a preview of a homework assignment you're going to do later. Let me get to the right slide here. I don't know why I jumped all the way down there. That's so weird. Where were we? Okay. The middle colonies have great ports. Okay. So this is a cool artistic rendering of the Port of New York. What can you see here? This looks like the 405 or the 110 or the 101, right? There is a lot of traffic. This is called the Delaware River, the 405 of the colony system back then. The Delaware feeds right into the port of Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, Pennsylvania had tons of business. Why? Because ships can go up and down here, and they can ship back and forth a lot of different stuff. The Hudson River is the port of New York City, and that allowed Manhattan to become the largest city in the world, one of the largest cities in the world to this day. And so there you go. That's the middle. So just to recap, right? The Northeast, cold, not good soil, and so you have a big shipbuilding economy. Middle, a little bit more farming, lot more shipping because of the ports, the famous ports of the Delaware River and in New York City. And now into the South. The South has almost the direct opposite of the northern climate. Short, mild winters, long, warm summers. It is the longest growing season, okay, and it's the most fertile soil on the entire coastal plain. Again, what you have in the South is a lot of rain and not a whole lot of cold temperatures. So when you have a lot of rain, a lot of humid weather, it's not really cool to hang out in and vacation in, but man, is it good farming land. The southern colonies adapt by growing tobacco, indigo, rice, sugar, okay? And of course, after 1793, King Cotton, okay? King Cotton, the biggest crop that the United States would export in its history. Tobacco. Tobacco is a very clever crop because people get addicted to it. Okay, people smoke. People smoked a lot back then. Tobacco was a huge crop. Indigo. Indigo is a dye that you would use for clothing, and you would use the indigo to dye and stain clothing. Very helpful for people who didn't want to work in really dark clothing. You'd want to dye it a different color. Rice. You can feed a lot of people very cheaply by growing rice. You'd export a lot of rice. And then sugar, same thing. You can also, change the taste of a lot of different kinds of food with sugar. And then cotton. Pretty much everything we're wearing now has some element of cotton in it. Cotton's a huge deal. We'll talk a lot about these crops in the year to come. So, adaptation. I don't know why I stuttered there. Adaptation. How does the southern colony adapt to its warm climate? Farming. The South's economy, farming. Not much else. Okay. When you have a temperature and a climate like there is in the South, you're going to take advantage of it, and you're going to grow. You're going to grow what are called cash crops, and they're called cash crops because you're growing one crop over a huge bit of land, and you're cashing in on that crop. Instead of sort of the subsistence farming of the Northeast, where the farmers up there would have a couple cows, and they might butcher those cows and eat them, and they might have some grain so they can feed their family, and then they might have another little thing of maybe they're growing some wheat so they can make some bread, maybe some barley so they can drink some beer or whatever. Like, you have these different small little farms that are pretty much have 4 or 5 crops on them. Not in the South. In the South, you've got all this land for one crop. Okay, and that's called plantation farming, when there's just one crop. Oh my God, that spins too. There you go. And so that is the end of this little part of it. Again, that's just some background on the geography and the climate. So going back to this first one here, that's just some background on the geography, economics of the 3 regions here. You're going to read a lot about the religious practices and types of government when you read 3.2. And watch the crash course videos. And then we'll also talk about these 2 things through your presentations as well. So that's some context for you. That's some background on the colonies. What I want you to think about is, given what you now know about the geography, climate, economics of the area, why would people go to a certain area, right? Let's say you were given a blank check back then, and you could go to any one of these 3 regions or any of the colonies. Which one would you go to? Would you go south, where you can make a lot of money, but the weather might not be as cool because it's so humid and hot? Would you go to the Northeast, where there's potentially a lot of cool things to do on the ocean? You can make money building ships, but man, those winters suck. Would you hang here in the middle, where you could? There's more diversity. You can farm, you can shipbuild, you can live in a big city. Maybe the middle might be the way for you to go, but maybe you don't like all those people that ended up there. Think about it. That's all I got for you for this video. Talk to you next time.